Hello and welcome to Theology on Tap. It is Sunday and it is 85 degrees outside here in Southern California. It's a beautiful day. It is very nice. What is not nice, however, is the divorce rate in America, or throughout the world actually. The first-time divorce rate is a little over 30%. Some people say it's less than 30%, but let's say around 30%. Overall, divorce rate is somewhere between 40 to 50, depends on who you talk to, but regardless, it's pretty high. And we could all have to agree that divorce causes a lot of problems in this world. It brings a lot of bitterness and hatred, revenge. The kids are hurt by divorce. It doesn't matter. The study shows it doesn't matter at what age the children are when the parents get divorced. It does leave a scar in the memory of the children. So it's not good. A lot of the social ills is caused by families that is broken down. So I think one of the most important thing in life, if not the most important thing that we could do in life, is to really have a successful marriage. Successful marriage in the sense that, you'll continue to have passionate love for your spouse. And even though you might go through the ups and downs in life, that you don't panic and you don't get jealous or you don't envy, you just continue to do what husband and wife are supposed to do. I mean, when we make a vow to one another when we get married, part of that vow is, to death do us apart. And we should really, that's one of the most beautiful thing about the vows in marriage, in my opinion, to death do us apart. That's beautiful. But these days you could get divorced for any reason. People want to go back to work or career. They meet someone else. They just don't get along anymore. I don't think it's easy to get divorced. Divorce is not easy. I've never met anyone that gone through a divorce and admit that it was easy. But I think the reason for divorce is, I think, something that we ought to be, focusing on or discussing, rather than how easy or hard it is to get divorced. When Jesus was asked the question, can a man divorce his wife for any reason? I don't know if that was a trick question or not, but I think the leaders of the law, people who were asking the question, wanted to know, because there are always so different views about divorce and marriage in any time of history of the world. Back then, in a Jewish perspective, I think there was one teaching that says you could only divorce for 3 reasons, right? Adultery, abandonment, and spousal abuse. Yet there was another group of Jewish sect that believed that you could divorce for any reason, because Moses gave a certificate of divorce, and Jesus said Moses did that because of the hardness of the heart of the people. It's not that God wanted divorce, but people kept asking for divorce, so Moses allowed it, or God allowed it to happen. It's kind of like when the Israelites wanted a king, God came to them and said, no, you don't want a king. I'm going to be the king of your lives. But, they kept on asking for a king. But, God says, okay, I'll give you a king, but he would be the reason for your fall. So a lot of times it seems like we're asking for things that will get ourselves into trouble, and God allows it to happen. So in a way, divorce is kind of like that, I guess. They asked for it. So because of the stiff-necked people, God allowed it to happen. But it's not. God allowed it to happen because it is good for society, but because people desire to do the wrong things in life. I think that would be the case. So Jesus says even further, you cannot divorce your wife outside of adultery. Adultery, yeah, you could get divorced, but anything outside of that, no. In fact, he goes even further by saying, if you divorce your wife and marry another, then you have committed adultery. And if you marry a man who's gone through a divorce, you have also committed adultery. Now, you could take that literally, and I'm sure some people do. And I have actually met someone whose wife passed on to heaven, and he did not want to get remarried, even though he was still quite young, because he didn't want to commit adultery. Personally, I don't think Jesus was saying that. I think Jesus was talking about people who would meet someone else and say, I'm going to divorce my wife and I'm going to marry another. Because some people are just getting divorced for any reason. From the class I took one time when I was going to seminary, I think the professor said that there are cases where the people were divorcing their wives because the wives could not cook very well. They didn't prepare the food, or burnt rice or something, right? So then you could get upset and divorce your wife. That's for any reason. And today we could get divorced for any reason. If you just don't get along, you just don't want to be married anymore. You just get divorced. And I think that there is the case. We don't really think about, how our divorce is going to affect the world, but we think about, well, at least it's going to do me good to go through a divorce. And I think that's not love, right? I mean, love is not, especially in marriage, I think I made a video about this before, but love is not desiring, but love is to take care of. I think I forgot which rabbi said that, but that definition makes perfect sense to me. There was another rabbi who says, I'm like, when you say I love meat or I love fish, what you're saying is you like the taste of it, you like the look of it or something like that. But it's not something that you want to take care of it, Like I understand that because I don't love my wife the way I love, let's say beef. Okay, I like to eat meat. All right, I mean I love to eat meat so much that when somebody showed me a video of all the cows being slaughtered, I didn't get disgusted. It was more like I was very thankful that there are people out there who's willing to do the things they do so that I could have, prime rib for dinner. Because that's really good. But so when I say I love beef, I love meat, I'm willing to allow the slaughterhouse to continue, right? As bad as it sounds, I know that's not very PC right now, but we know what they're going through. We know what the people have to do so that I could enjoy a great steak. Like the Korean all-you-can-eat barbecue for $9.99 over here in Israel. Yeah, I mean, imagine that, right? But that's not the same as saying I love my wife. But you could say I love the way she looks, I love the way she makes me feel, I love her hugs, I love, this and that. But I love her also in a way that I don't want any harm to be done to my wife. I want to make sure she is, happy. And when I get sad and somewhat depressed when I know that I could do more, but she's not as happy as she should be in a way. I want to take care of her. That's not the same as saying I love fish. Okay, maybe that is the case. I think today many people get into marriage because they like the idea of marriage or they like the person for themselves, but it's not like they're getting married to take care of one another. I mean, maybe that is the case. But it is interesting that instead of talking about the love, how we need to take care of each other, the way that Jesus took care of the wife, which is the bride, which is the church, that he died for the church. And, God being in very nature, Jesus being very nature God, did not consider himself equal to God, but, humbled himself, came in the form of a man. He submitted himself. So it's not like Jesus was on the top, reaching down to us and saying, come up to where I am. He came under us and lifted us up. And that's the picture of Christianity. But that could also be the picture of marriage, Instead of saying you should be where, I want you to be, I'm going to go under you. I'm going to help you. I'm going to really help you to be the best you can be. I'm going to love you, right? I'm going to put you on a pedestal. I'm going to make sure I push you up there to take care of you. I mean, something like that, I mean, if there are experts in marriage, I'm sure they will say the same thing. So instead of thinking about what you want, whatever, the whole idea of marriage in the book of Genesis is two becoming one. We are one, and we got to be able to take care of one another. And very simple stuff like, Ephesians says, submit to one another. And also says, husbands, love your wife like you love yourself. Be selfish with her. Make sure she is happy the way that you want to be happy. So take care of her. Take care of him. I mean, that's kind of simple enough. Maybe it's hard to do. But if we could just focus on that, help each other with that, and create a surrounding that is supportive of that, would be wonderful. And I hope the best for all people that are married. And if you're not and you're thinking about it, God bless you. I don't think marriage is as difficult as people make it. It is something you do. So far, I could think about all the wonderful things. Some things that gets me a little bit depressed sometimes, but overall, it's a lot better. I mean, every study shows that, actually. It's a lot better, healthier, economically it's better, financially it's better. Kids are healthier, IQ goes up. I mean, everything is better if marriage is good. And my belief has always been that, you don't really have to discipline, in a way, your children to be what you want them to be. All you gotta do is love your spouse, and your kids most likely is gonna be fine. But it is interesting that instead of focusing on that kind of thing, the religious leaders were asking, can a man divorce his wife for any reason? More like a selfish question, more like a legal question, more than a heart question. And I think that's why Jesus said what he said in the Bible. Instead of talking about the law questions and what it means and how to apply the law, maybe it's about the heart, to love and to support. It's not just desiring, but to taking care of. Put them in a pedestal. That kind of things. Matter of the heart. May God bless you. I hope your marriage is great. If you're going through some struggles, I wouldn't worry too much about it, but to just kind of think about, not about how miserable you may be, but what changes that can be made to put your spouse on a pedestal. And I'm sure things will change, and the impact that we're going to have if we were to have a successful marriage in the world is phenomenal. We could change the world by having a good marriage. I'm a true believer of that. God bless you. Hope you're having a fantastic marriage. And for those who are not married, I don't know why you don't want to get married. It's wonderful. It's great. I really, truly believe it's the way that God wants us to be. I'm not saying marriage is for everyone, but I don't think we should be afraid of it. Okay? Not that you have to be worried about divorce and stuff like that either. Because it's the matter of the heart, right? It's a matter of love, taking care of, putting them on a pedestal, stuff like that. Anyway, God bless you. Hope you're having a fantastic day. Hope you're enjoying the weather as much as we are in SoCal. God bless. See you next time.